The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And that's David Wilcox singing my theme song, Bad Apple. That's me. You guys know that. By the way, I come up with another acronym for OBE after listening to our last guest. Out of brain experience. Yeah. I think you left the brain with the dog. Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone TV, and on shortwave. And I'd like to say hello to all our new listeners throughout the European Union. And thank you guys for the emails that I'm getting. And I'm telling you, it's a pleasure being over there. And as well to all our Asian listeners, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, all of you, for those kind emails that you're sending us. And I hope to get back to each and every one of you in the very near future. 1-877-528-8255 is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. My email address is xzone@talkstarradio.com. On MSN Messenger, talkstarradio@hotmail.com. And our websites, www.xzoneradio.com and www.xzonetv.com. My guest this hour is a gentleman who is very well known and highly respected throughout the UFO world. His name is Dr. Bruce Cornett. Bruce has initiated a research project to install passive detection and monitoring devices at UFO hotspots around the U.S. He has many of his own outstanding sightings and videos on his website. And he is undoubtedly the world's leading authority on the events that have been occurring in the Pine Bush area of New York from the 1980s to the present day. And he is also on staff at the National Institute for Discovery Science. And Dr. Bruce Cornett, how are you, Bruce? Welcome back to the X Zone. Great having you with us.
Well, thank you, Rob, for having me back. I'm doing quite fine, thank you.
Bruce, your status as a ufologist in my books is that of... last night we had Dennis Balthaser on. And you go back to the old days with me 15, 16 years ago.
Yes.
First show of the X Zone was in 1993. Your research goes back into the 1980s, I believe.
Actually, 1992, when things began to really open up for me. Mm-hmm. It was Ellen Crystal's work that went back into the 80s.
Right. And Ellen's, she's been on the show a number of times. But, you know, Bruce, in this world of ufology today, there are many people out there who don't know what the heck they're doing.
I have to agree with that.
You know, and I did an editorial where I said that in my experience, 15 years or 16 years doing this show, the credible ufologists are very few and far between. And as I put Dennis Balthaser into the credible category last night, I do the same tonight with you. Because I've seen your work. I've seen the meticulous manner in which you go about investigating things. You never take anything as sight unseen. You investigate. And I believe that you do this because of your training as a researcher, geologist, and a paleobotanist. You know, like you're a scientist, so you take everything from a scientific angle.
In fact, the creed of a scientist is to try to falsify hypotheses and theories. Mm-hmm. You investigate, you come up with data. Yep. You try to explain that data with an hypothesis or theory, and if you can falsify it with additional data, then you must go back to square one and try another interpretation.
Bruce, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Please stand by. Dr. Bruce Cornett is our guest this hour. His website is www.monmouth.com/B Cornett. And Dr. Bruce Cornett and I will be back talking about UFOs to paleontology to things from the past. And is there correlation from the past to the future? Quantum Physics 109. I'll be back with Dr. Bruce Cornett live from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Heard around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone TV, and on shortwave.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Dr. Bruce Cornett's our very special guest. And Bruce, I'd like to talk to you, if possible, about the Stephenville UFO and the controversy between what the military first said and then their rebuttal or their fast turnaround, and they said, oh, yeah, we had 10 F-16s in the air. As a professional ufologist, how did you perceive this?
First off, I think that most people can distinguish a conventional aircraft from something that does not look like an aircraft. And if it's behaving unlike that of an aircraft, such as stopping, hovering, taking right angle turns, moving around without making any noise, they take notice and think it's something unidentified, and obviously it is.
That's right, because they don't know what it is.
Right. And, then for the military to come in and say, oh, it was just a bunch of F-16s, I mean, it's sort of like a slap in the face, assuming that these people are idiots. And that's probably not the case at all.
Now, over the years investigating UFO sightings, Bruce, have you come across it before where the military will say one thing and then a few days later they'd backtrack? Or backpedal, I should say?
Well, when I was at NIDS, National Institute for Discovery Science, back in 2004, I went through a lot of different files and things, and it was quite clear that there was a policy in place within the military to put everything through a very strong filter. And in other words, they're just not going to admit to anything that they don't want out there. And there has been, for example, in the Pine Bush area, there was an attempt later discovered by Phil Ambronio that the CIA, during that flap in the mid-'80s, where these very large craft or objects were seen by thousands of people and reported, and that's the subject of Ambronio's book with Hynek called Night Siege, where they tried to mimic the formation of lights that were being described with slow-moving airplanes, and that had special lights installed on them, all for the purpose of confusing the public. So I do know that something like that has happened. That has been documented.
Bruce, I was wondering if you could, for the listeners who may not be as familiar with the Pine Bush events in New York State around the Hudson Valley, I was wondering if you could explain it to them, please.
Boy, I don't know many hours you've got here for me, but
only one, my friend. Only one.
I'll try to summarize it in as best a way I can.
Sounds like a plan.
Simply to say that I discovered back in '92 this book called Silent Invasion by Ellen Crystal, and I was fascinated by it because I was living in Middletown, New York, and she described these events that were happening around that city. And I contacted her, and she took me out into the field. And this was the beginning of a cycle of sightings during the 90s that lasted probably from 91 till 97, and then slacked off abruptly at the end of 97, with only sporadic sightings after that. And it was basically an area where thousands of people have seen, mostly locals, residents, unusual lights in the sky and craft that they can't explain. And it's called the Pine Bush Hotspot. And one of my desires or attempts at research was to understand what was going on. Ellen Crystal, in her book, hypothesized that there was an alien base below ground. That's why there was so much activity there, because she had actually witnessed craft diving into the ground and disappearing without a crash and emerging from the ground. And I actually have photographed them doing this out in the field at night with time exposures, and you can see it actually happening. And I wanted to go out and test her hypothesis. This is one of the methods of science to try to arrive at the truth. And I borrowed a proton magnetometer, a very sophisticated instrument used in geology to determine the Earth's magnetic fields. And I did a 200-square-mile magnetic survey. It took me 3 years to complete with 1,800 stations. And I was able to generate maps that revealed not only the geology, the structural geology below ground, but also showed a series of ancient islands that were embedded or buried in ancient marine rocks. And some of those islands are actually exposed in the southern part of the Wallkill River Valley, and the ones to the north were still buried in rock. And these strange anomalies were all associated with these islands. And that raised a number of questions as to what was going on. I've found additional things in the valley which are quite extraordinary and perhaps lend some explanation as to what is going on. One thing that happened recently is that the History Channel contacted me, And they became familiar with my discovery of signals coming out of the ground that were not natural, that were highly sophisticated. They had been analyzed by physicists and by people at JPL, and they are definitely not. They are not human of human origin, and they wanted to check this area out again, where I had recorded these signals. And that show is going to appear on the 19th of March on the History Channel. We went to the location, and the area was popping with magnetic fluxes and signals, and all sorts of strange things were happening. And we even had a GPR, a ground-penetrating radar, and we were able to image an entombed, what I think is an entombed robotic probe below ground, embedded in ancient rocks that are 450 million years old.
This is starting to sound like a scene out of the Day the Earth Stood Still.
It could, something of this nature. I mean, the thing that's always perplexed me is I've given professional talks on this, and I have web pages on this, and PowerPoints. And very few people have picked up the baton and wanted to investigate this further. And yet, if there ever was a smoking gun, this is it. Here, this thing is. I've mapped it out below ground. It's a huge triangle, 565 feet on a side, over 17 feet thick. It's probably close to 3 million cubic feet in size.
Wow!
It's enormous, and it's now. Erosion has nearly exposed it. It's just 7 feet below the ground, still embedded within very hard black shales. And it is alive in the sense that it is sending out powerful signals, and it is magnetizing the trees around it that to 1,700 milligauss, which is outrageous. That's almost as much as a bar magnet. And because of these magnetic signals, that is, or this device, we think is sending signals out into space, basically trying to call home. That's perhaps one of the reasons why Pine Bush Hotspot exists, is because I found other locations where other ones may have been buried and are still entombed in rock, and sending active signals. And it looks like this may be being used as a gateway for wormholes and interdimensional travel, in the sense that there is more than one of these probes that came and landed back 450 million years ago on these ancient islands. And the reason I'm thinking that is because if we sent a probe out to another solar system, found a planet like Earth, and found that life was evolving very rapidly in its oceans, we would want to send more probes out. We would send a lot of them out, and they'd land on these islands and send out their own devices into the oceans to monitor the life and to record what was going on. And obviously, they thought long term. They weren't thinking like we do. We have send the Mars rover out, and eventually it will fail. After another decade, it'll probably get so clogged with dust it can't work. And these things were designed to last for hundreds of millions of years and to travel great distances in space. And now the thing is close enough to the surface that it's able to generate a signal. And these signals I've actually recorded coming out of the ground, and they are quite powerful. And when we went back there this last November, the thing was just going crazy again, sending signals out into space. And interestingly enough, I found it to be most active when I was doing my studies of it back in 92, 93, when the constellation Bootes was directly overhead. So apparently it is aware of its surroundings and aware of the constellations, and people have seen other probes, other UFOs come in and hover over this thing, which is amazing, and as if drawn to its beacon.
Now, tell me, Bruce, throughout history, has this location ever been an ancient sacred site?
Yes.
All right, okay.
That particular one, but another one right nearby, I call the Indian Burial Mound. And it has a number of what appear to be Native American features on it. One that looks like a large saucer-shaped UFO.
Bruce, I hate to do this, but I've got to take a commercial break. This is fascinating stuff. Exo Nation, this is why when I get some of these people on here who talk about investigating UFOs, I kind of think they're a little fringy and a little bit of out there, and like Georgina Cannon would say, they're part of the woo-woo crowd. But when I get people like Dr. Bruce Cornett on, who takes a scientific approach, I listen.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X-Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Feast to Fields Organic Vineyard in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
I should have known you bid me farewell. There's a lesson to be learned from this, and I learned it very well. Now I know you're not the only starfish in the sea. If I never hear your name again, it's all the same to me. And I think it's gonna be alright. Yeah, the worst is over now. The morning sun is shining like a red rubber ball. You never can.
Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Bruce Cornett's our very special guest this hour. His website is www.monmuth.com/B. Cornett. Bruce, I was just wondering if the beacon that you've discovered has anything to do with the mythical return of Planet X.
Oh, God, don't let me get into that. I mean, doesn't this come from mythology and maybe Sitchin getting into this?
Yeah.
Why should there be a Planet X? I mean, there are a lot of rogue objects out there in space. They're finding them all the time. And we know that as we discover more and more, we're going to find that there may be some very distant planets that orbit our sun, as they have recently found and added a possible 2 or 3 new ones to the 7 that we used to think were the only ones.
Yeah. So I guess you don't follow or you don't believe the Planet X story.
Oh no, please.
Okay. Just asking, buddy.
Okay.
Just asking.
I base my stuff. I have to have something solid.
Yeah.
Something factual, something that can be reproduced, and something that can be corroborated by my peers. And if I don't have that, then it's just anecdotal information as far as I'm concerned. And really, we know how much of that exists in ufology.
Yes, very true. Now tell me, Bruce, the signal that this triangle is emitting, is it on a very unusual radio band?
First off, the way I'm detecting it is magnetically.
I see.
Okay? And my friend at JPL says that he thinks that these 3 magnetically generated beams on each of the corner of this triangle are able to control a central device and aim some sort of a particle beam out into space.
So we're talking about magnetic harmony, harmonics. What's it called? Magnetic convergence to create a harmonic frequency.
Yes, something of this nature, and that because it's still below ground, he thinks that we're dealing with extremely small particles, such as neutrinos or something that it's controlling. So, if we could just I could find people willing enough to put up some money that we could go out there and monitor this and try to determine just exactly how it's producing this signal or what the signal is. Imagine we could perhaps crack the telecommunication code of the universe and find that there's, the universe is alive with signals. And to think that SETI is correct in that the ET will communicate on waterhole frequency is ridiculous. They're just looking at a very narrow band, and they haven't found very much after 60 years of looking. I think they've had a couple questionable hits, and that's about it. So it's quite clear that if there are these probes out there traveling around, gathering information on the universe, they're not communicating in any way that we have yet discovered.
Bruce, having the information that you have, how come the UFO community isn't just knocking your door down saying, how can we get involved in this find?
Yeah, that's my question. I wonder how or why this is not the case. And I think it's largely because in the UFO community, you have a lot of people, once they get involved and see something or think that, or become hooked on the idea or belief, they get it in their heads that it's an ephemeral phenomena that can't be studied scientifically. And they want, trace evidence. They want videos and photographs. And people seem to be very eager to just see any video clip of something unusual in the sky. And to a scientist, that's nothing. I mean, really, you can't determine what's inside going on. What I did is I went out into the field with the various instruments and took time exposures at night of these strange lights in the night sky, and I recorded hundreds of sightings of things that were clearly not man-made. And I can go down a whole list of reasons why. Listeners just have to go to my website, and that will show you links to various pages that I've generated over the last 10 years. And on all the data that I collected during the 90s, there's just an enormous amount of data there. And one of the things is very consistent. All of these objects at night were using plasma lights. They were not using lamps. And you can determine that with infrared film. You can determine that from color images, blowing them up and looking for evidence such as plasma balls, things of this nature. And when these some of these craft brighten their lights, they literally set the atmosphere on fire. It turns to huge plumes of nitrous oxide, glowing nitrous oxide that comes off them, and that is mainly because they're exciting the atoms in the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is largely composed of nitrogen and oxygen, and nitrogen and oxygen will combine to form nitrous oxide. And I have lots of good images of that. Plus, anytime they produce sounds, and this is very consistent, the sounds can be analyzed. If they're recorded, they can be analyzed, and uniformly, no white noise. If I record a conventional airjet, I will get white noise. But with these, you do not get that. And all the sound is broken up into about a dozen individual frequencies as if produced by a sound synthesizer. And also, the sound exhibits reversed Doppler. I've worked with Jack Safari out in California, and he thinks that my data is proof positive of anti-gravity fields around these craft, and that this will, according to his theory, when the propulsion through this method of controlling gravity will reverse the Doppler effect. So he says, I've proven that not only that his theory is correct, but that I am recording craft that are being propelled by unconventional technology. So this is all physics data. That is raw data that any other scientist can look at and analyze. And I really don't have an explanation as to why more people aren't willing to invest in my work. And
How about the government, the military? Because if this technology is as you believe it to be, Bruce, it would be invaluable to the government.
Yes. The only explanation I can think of is that they've already figured it out. They already reversed engineered it, and they're really not that interested in it. Because they don't want, it's right there along a public thoroughfare where this the craft is located. And if the government were to step in and try to excavate it, there's a cemetery built right on top of it, and it's so they'd have to move the cemetery, and I don't think they're going to get the cemetery people who own that cemetery to go along with that. In addition, it would be quite obvious what they're doing in their activity, and as a consequence, it would attract a lot of attention. And the one thing they don't want is to attract attention to something like this.
Now, Bruce, the research or the continuation of research that you would like to do at this site, that funding would be super for, how would this differ from what the government would do?
Okay, if it's in the private sector, even if it involves JPL and NASA, okay, it would be very public. It would have to be, just like the Mars missions, etc. Certain information would probably be classified, but other information would be released. But the bottom line is, if this is what I think it is, Rob, I mean, you're dealing with a civilization that existed 450 million years ago. How do we know? Because it's embedded in rocks that have been dated to that age.
Yeah.
And they have been sending probes out, presumably designed to travel many light years. We don't know how, and this may have been one of the first exploration phases of this civilization. And so basically you're dealing with an antique, okay? If you can think of E.T., producing more and more advanced models through the millions of years, this thing would be an absolute antique. And yet it would be much more advanced than anything we would have.
Is it possible, Bruce, that this is a time machine?
Yeah. Yeah, and it obviously, I mean, to have something that is still active, I mean, if it is not running on radioactive elements, a nuclear power, then it's I'd love to know just how it's able to be active this for so many hundreds of millions of years, and that's by itself.
Yeah.
As one of my colleagues said, Bruce, even if this doesn't turn out to be what you think it is, nobody's ever discovered anything like this. If this is a natural formation, or rock formation that's doing this, this would be a huge interest to science. And if it's what you think it is, it could literally give us a quantum leap in our own need for finding free energy or a source of energy that could run our civilization.
Bruce, could tectonic plate movement cause the magnetic variances that you noticed?
Well, it's a very quiet area. It's been dead tectonically for hundreds of millions of years. In fact, at the time this ocean was forming, it was a region of tectonic collision between Africa and North America.
Right.
Mountain ranges were being formed, but now it's virtually dead. There are very few earthquakes, and most of those are associated with the ancient rift valleys along the East Coast that formed when Africa and North America split apart and Pangea broke up 200 million years ago. So I was working at Vermont Doherty Earth Observatory at the time, and they monitor the whole area seismically, and I would have known if there was any activity going on. It would have been the buzz of the Institute.
Right. Now, Bruce, what happens when you bring an electric motor or vehicle near this site? Is there any dampening of a magnetic field?
Well, I would think that it could be. We didn't really go and test that aspect of it. I mean, we have recorded drops in temperature over this thing, as much as 10 degrees.
Wow.
And increases in temperature in the winter enough to melt snowbanks. I've heard sounds being produced, and others have heard sounds coming out of the ground.
What kind of sounds?
Something mechanical down there, a humming, a vibration. So there's something moving. There are moving parts. There's in this thing, whatever it is, and however, if it can be excavated, it has to be done through the scientific community, openly, and with the help of aerospace engineers, etc., and NASA, because they would need to put in protocols as to what we're going to do. I mean, I've even recorded high levels, slightly above background radiation levels. Okay, so there is radiation associated with it, and the closer we get to it, we don't know. We would have to monitor every aspect of this to make sure that nobody that gets near it would be injured. And what happens if we start to remove some of the overburden on it and free it up a little bit? Now, this thing landed, hypothesis is that it landed on an island, and the sea level rose, and eventually the island sank, and muds of that ocean covered over the island and entombed the object, okay, the craft.
Bruce, stand by. I've got to take my final break. Dr. Bruce Cornett's our very special guest. Bruce, this has to be the scientific find of all times. I don't understand why people, like I said, are knocking at your door to get part of this, to be part of this, especially the government and the UFO world. They should be there saying, gosh, Bruce, thank you. Finally, a smoking gun. Let's get it done. I'll be back on the other side with Dr. Bruce Cornett as the X Zone continues right here on the Talkstar Radio Network.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more? Get ready for a toll-free number to Associated Tax Relief. Associated Tax Relief has helped others settle their tax debt with the IRS for mere pennies on the dollar. Associated Tax Relief's accountants, attorneys, and tax preparers are experts at negotiating with the IRS to settle your debt and put an end to the letters, wage garnishment, and hassles. In fact, the IRS is offering you a one-time opportunity to pay your tax debt for less than what you owe. You owe it to yourself to find out how you could save literally thousands of dollars on your tax debt by calling for a free consultation. There's absolutely no cost or obligation for this free tax consultation. Get the facts on how Associated Tax Relief can help you settle your debt with the IRS. Call now, 800-655-3298. Don't wait another minute. Call for your free consultation at 800-655-3298. That's 800-655-3298. 800-655-3298.
Whether it's the arrival of Planet X in 2012, the Earth's crazy weather cycles, our deadly global warming, Armageddon, UFOs, ETs, terrorism, the critical mass 2008 presidential elections, Dr. Jason Rand talks the talk and walks the walk. Being a twice-nominated Grammy record producer, recording artist, publisher, lecturer, UFO ET researcher and investigator, and best-selling author of The Return of Planet X, Mankind's Ongoing Legacy with a Brown Dwarf Star, Dr. Jason Rand truly does walk the walk and talk the talk. For more information on Dr. Jason Rand or to order The Return of Planet X, visit his website at www.returnofplanet-x.com or call 901-336-9660. And where will you be in the year 2012?
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today. www.soulbalancing.world.
Dr. Bruce Maccabee is our special guest. www.monmouth.com/tilde-B Cornet. Bruce, I have a question for one of our listeners. His name is Rob. He would like to know if you've done any infrared photography of the anomaly.
Not at that particular location. I have used infrared for the lights in the sky. This is one thing that I want to do, but I'm trying to figure out how to go about it, because I suspect that if I could find some money to get in a helicopter and we put an infrared camera on that helicopter and photograph the ground during the winter when you get the heat signature increasing on this thing, it'll just light right up. That's what I suspect, and that's what these are things that still need to be done. A lot of monitoring has to be done on this to really know what we have. People have actually seen beam of light coming out of the center of this thing and tracking an airplane flying overhead. That is amazing, and so there's been a lot, and other people have seen a military caravan come up to this cemetery, stop along the side of the road, soldiers in fatigues get out, go into the cemetery, and take something out of the ground, and then get back in and they take off. So I have no doubt that they are aware of it. And I even had an email from Robert Gates complimenting me and thanking me for all the work that I've done. And you know who he is, right?
Yes. Now tell me, because the military was in the graveyard, is it possible that this is something to do with the military, that it has no extraterrestrial origins?
Well, it's unlikely that the military will have anything to do with private land. They would want to own and control that land. That's number one. Number two, for it to have a cemetery on top of it, in other words, they couldn't have put anything in the ground while that cemetery was there, okay? They couldn't have touched that sacred ground. And so there's no way that... So this thing has to be older than the cemetery, and the cemetery goes back to the 50s, okay? So whatever was put in there has to be a very ancient technology if it's ours. And why would they dig holes and put devices below ground to send signals out into space? That doesn't make sense. We have radio telescopes and other forms of antennae that do this above ground. We don't need to hide them in some cow pasture and below a cemetery.
As always, Bruce, great having you on the show. I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. And please keep us abreast of your great research, will you? Oh, I will, Rob. I thank you again for having me on, and I hope someone out there hearing this who has some deep pockets would be interested enough in participating. How can they contact you, Bruce? All right. Thank you so much. How can they contact you, Bruce? Through my website. My email is bcornet@elp.rr.com. Or just call me at this number, 915-494-4628. And, of course, they can always contact me, and I will get them right in contact with you. Very Bruce, good. Take care of yourself. Keep the great work up, bud. All right, thank you. Good night, sir. Bye-bye. Dr. Bruce Cornett, www.monmouth.com/B. When we come back from the news at the top of the hour, I'll be joined by James Gilliland. We're going to be talking about a documentary entitled Contact Has Begun. I'll be back on the other side of the news as the X Zone continues live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, exclusively on X Zone TV